Do you tend to put others before yourself? Hi, I'm Carly Myers, your friendly stress management expert, and this month we are exploring mental health. Now, I've brought on Mary Brown, who is a life coach and the founder of Intentional Life Coaching, to help us out today. So, Mary actually specializes in helping women build confidence, set boundaries, and practice self care. So, I couldn't think of a better guest to bring on the show. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, I'm curious. Well, I always say this. I'm always curious how you got into this line of work. I know we talked about it pre-show a little bit, but how did you end up here in the place where you're the founder of Intentional Life Coaching? Amazing.
I used to be a social worker for about 12 or 13 years. I was a social worker and social work manager. And so I saw a lot of people who struggle with mental health and addictions and trauma and patterns of abuse and neglect. There's not much I didn't see when I was serving people as a social worker. And I wrote lots and lots of treatment plans for people who were identified clients, right? I facilitated their family meetings for people who were identified clients, where we would bring together their family members and their support network and try to um, help them to help the struggling person. And so my heart was just drawn to those family members that were around the identified clients. So they were like sisters of someone with a mental health disorder,
Mm,
or mothers of teenage or adult children who are struggling, or partners of someone who had like a pornography problem. And they were the survivors of abuse and neglect, and they were just so heartbroken. They were disappointed, they felt burnt out, and these people needed self-confidence, they needed boundaries, they needed self-care.
mhm.
And I wanted to help those women, the women like me who were the helpers, the caregivers, and not necessarily the identified clients. So I became a life coach so that I could help those women to build confidence and set boundaries and practice self care. And I love it. I totally love it. I just see coaching as a vehicle, kind of like Cinderella's stagecoach, where wherever you're at, it's totally fine. I just come in and kind of encourage you and lift you up, and then we move together to where you want to be. And it's just beautiful. It's really my honor and my joy to be able to witness the transformation of the amazing women that I get to work with. And I, of course, have my own story about how I learn to build confidence and to set boundaries and to practice self-care. I grew up in this really big family with we had 9 kids, so there were 5 boys and 4
Oh my
girls. And
goodness.
I know, I know, so many, right? 2 parents, 5 boys, 4 girls, and 0 boundaries. And so
I love that. Oh my goodness.
so I had to learn kind of how to show up with love for myself and the people around me. And that kind of was in 3 parts. So first, I just had to learn self-awareness. Like, I really just needed to understand like what was okay for me and what was not okay for me. What did I actually think or feel or want? And then I had to learn how to communicate that, because at first my boundaries sounded something like, "Hey, it's not okay for you to do this," right?
Stop that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do that again and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so communicating about our boundaries is a learned skill. And so I really had to practice that. And I practiced a lot of my first husband. And
Love it.
and then I had to really learn how to practice self-care. And not I mean, initially it was like I would try things like eating chocolate and junk food, or, playing poker or going out. And those kinds of things didn't really serve me. And so I had to learn more about like real self care, connecting to my spirit, connecting to my creativity, connecting to my body, connecting to people that I love in a meaningful way, connecting to the nature, connecting to a higher power. All of those things um, really helped me to have self care that was sustainable.
And I love so much about that. And I'm probably gonna steal that. I only have one sibling, but I'm gonna be like, I had one sister and 0 boundaries. And I'm like, this one's for you, Candace, like no, but
Right.
I really love the work that you're doing. And the reason I wanted to bring you on the show is because, there's so much focus on, I believe what you called the identified client, but there's
Hmm.
not so much focus on everybody around that person, right?
Right.
And I think that a lot of, the people in my community, my people, are that they are those are the people that are we care so much and we give so much, and
Mhm.
oftentimes it can be really difficult to have those boundaries and say no. So what do you recommend around setting those boundaries or implementing that self-care when we are in a situation like that?
Yeah. So boundary setting, in order for it to be effective and for it to feel good to us, I teach that it needs to be done from a place of love, that we do it from the mindset of, I love me and I love you, and or at least I respect myself and I love you or
Mm-hmm.
respect you. And starting with that mindset piece of like, we're doing this from a place of love, and then really practicing how to communicate what's okay for me, and then requesting something different from the other person. And then the hard part is the very end, we have to be able to say, if this continues to happen, then I will do, and I can do, and I will do something to follow up to take care of myself. And that's where the self care piece
Mm,
of boundaries really comes in. So if something's happening that I feel disrespected, then what I need to do for self care is what's going to help me to feel respected again.
yep.
Um, and it really is effective. It really works when it's done in a loving and a logical way.
Yeah.
And when it's done, when we're thinking in, the forefront of our brain. Um, so I actually encourage people, to plan out what you want your boundaries to be before the moment comes where you need to say it like
Yes.
that. Yeah, so
Yes,
that you're
I'm
ready.
right there with you on that 100%. And it's funny what you're saying is reminding me of of an incident in my life, like probably 10 years ago now, being in a really just crappy relationship. And I remember it would be always about it was the little thing, but it would be like the dishes or something ridiculous. And I'd be like, if you don't do the dishes this last time, I'm leaving. And then of course he
Mhm.
wouldn't do the dishes and then I would not leave. And
Right.
it was, that is an extreme example of not, first of all, not thinking ahead of time about what my
Mhm.
real boundary was. And also, if that really was it, let's say it was my real boundary, I was never following through on it. So there was no real self-care. And when I finally got the courage to leave that relationship, I was flying high because I was like, oh, I did, look at me. You like I was so free for the first
Mhm.
time.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's true. And unfortunately, when we try to set a boundary and we don't follow through, it actually decreases our confidence. And
Mhm.
so that's why I help women to build confidence, to set and commitments and follow through.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So
So
maybe I should just give a couple quick tips.
yeah, I would love that.
Okay, so a few tips for setting boundaries. The first one is to just know your self worth. I believe that we're all born valuable, and because we are human beings, you don't have to earn your worth. That never changes. Um, and second is that you get to decide what's okay for you and what's not okay for you. So boundaries are not about controlling other people, they're about valuing yourself. And I give you permission right now today that you can decide what's okay for you and what's not okay for you. And then the third one is that self care really is about connection. That self care connects us to ourselves, connects us to people we love and either a higher power or a higher purpose. So that includes all the kinds of connecting to our bodies, our creativity, our feeling, people, nature, and belonging something bigger than ourselves.
Oh, I love that so much. So for those of you who are listening at home, we want to know, what are you doing for that self-care, that those boundaries, right? Because it's all about love for you. So what are you doing for yourself? And we also want to let you know that we have a brand new offering for you guys. It's called the Virtual Stress Less Space. It is a self-care accountability group. And in order to find more information about that, you're going to go to stresslessco.com/virtual stress less space. This concludes this episode of the Stress Less Show. We want to thank Mary Brown for coming on the show. This was so good. And
Thank
if you
you.
absolutely, and if you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know by giving us a big old thumbs up or hitting that follow and subscribe button. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.